Ambassador Yuna stood near the large window of Harmony Station. She watched the dark shape of a shuttle move closer through the stars. The shuttle belonged to the Varax, and it was coming to dock with the station. The Varax were not like humans. They came from a planet called Varik Prime, a world of storms, earthquakes, and dangerous animals. Everything on their planet wanted to kill everything else. The Varax had survived by becoming the most dangerous things on their world. They were tall, almost 7 feet, with thick muscles under silver fur. Their claws could cut through metal. Their teeth could crush bone. Their eyes glowed amber in the dark. For 200 years, the Varax had conquered other species. They moved from planet to planet, taking what they wanted. 12 star systems fell under their control. They had never lost a war. Then they met humans. The war lasted 5 years. It was terrible for both sides. Humans were small and weak compared to the Varax, but they did not give up. They fought in ways the Varax did not expect. They hid in shadows. They used tricks. They turned the Varax's own weapons against them. In the end, neither side won. Both sides lost too much. So they made peace. The peace treaty was new, only 6 months old. Nobody trusted it yet. The Varax thought humans were sneaky and strange. Humans thought the Varax were violent and scary. But both sides wanted the war to end, so they agreed to learn about each other. That was why the shuttle was coming. The Varax wanted to understand humans better. They had asked a strange question. How do humans raise their young? Yuna had found this question funny at first, but then she learned why the Varax asked it. Varax cubs were wild. They were born with claws and teeth. They fought each other from the first day of life. Many cubs died before they grew up. The Varax did not know how to make their children calm. They had heard that human children were different. Human children played. Human children laughed. Human children did not try to kill their parents. The Varax wanted to know the secret. Lieutenant Taiho walked up to stand beside Yuna. He was her security chief, a serious man with a scar on his chin from the war. He did not like this plan. "Ambassador," he said, "are you sure this is a good idea?" Yuna did not look away from the window. "They asked for our help, Taiho. We said yes. It is too late to change our minds now." "But these are Varax cubs," Taiho said. "They are not like human babies." I read the reports. A 6-month-old Varax cub killed a trained soldier on one of their ships. It bit through his neck. I know. And we are putting them in a daycare? With a civilian caretaker? Yuna finally turned to look at him. She was a small woman 50 years old, with gray hair and calm eyes. She had been a soldier before she became a diplomat. She had seen many terrible things, but she believed in peace. "The caretaker is not just any civilian," she said. "Her name is Minji. She grew up in Bazan on Earth. She is the oldest of 5 children. She raised all 4 of her younger siblings while her parents worked. She has been taking care of children since she was 8 years old." "Children," Taiho said. "Human children, not alien predators." "We will see," Yuna said. "I have faith in her." The shuttle finished docking. Yuna heard the sound of metal connecting to metal. She straightened her uniform and walked toward the airlock. Taiho followed, his hand near his weapon. The airlock door opened with a hiss. Warden Graal stepped through first. He was massive, even for a Varax. His silver fur was streaked with black, a sign of age and experience. His amber eyes moved quickly, checking the room for danger. Old scars covered his arms and face. He was a warrior who had survived many battles. Behind him came 3 smaller shapes. The cubs. They were smaller than Graal, but still big compared to humans. Each one stood as tall as Yuna's shoulder. Their fur was softer than adult fur, more like silk than metal. Their claws were shorter, but still sharp. Their eyes were wide and alert, watching everything. The largest cub was named Rosk. He moved like a hunter, his body low and ready to attack. The middle cub was Ven. He stayed close to his brother, his ears turning to catch every sound. The smallest was Kira. She was the only female. She tried to look brave, but Yuna could see that she was nervous. "Ambassador Yuna," Grawl said. His voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. "I thank you for receiving us." Yuna bowed her head slightly. "Warden Grawl, welcome to Harmony Station. We are honored by your trust." Trust. Grawl made a sound that might have been a laugh. "I am not sure that is the right word. Oh, perhaps. Desperation, maybe." He looked at his cubs. "My children are in their aggressive phase. It is the most difficult time for Varax young. They want to fight everything. They fear nothing. They listen to no one." "I understand," Yuna said. "No," Grawl said. "You do not." "Not yet." He stepped closer to her. "I must warn you, Ambassador. These cubs have hurt people. They have hurt me. They cannot control themselves. It is their nature. If your caretaker is harmed, I will take full responsibility. But I wanted you to know the danger." Yuna smiled. It was a warm smile, the kind that made people feel safe. "Warden Grawl, I appreciate your honesty, but I think you will be surprised. Humans have our own ways of handling difficult children." Grawl stared at her for a long moment. Then he made that strange laughing sound again. "We shall see, Ambassador. We shall see." Yuna gestured toward the hallway. "Please, follow me. I will take you to the daycare. You can meet Minji yourself." They walked through the station. The cubs moved in a tight group, their eyes darting everywhere. Other humans stopped to stare. Some looked scared. Some looked curious. A few looked angry. The war had ended, but the memories had not. Rosk growled at a human who got too close. The man jumped back. "Rosk," Grawl said sharply, "control yourself." The cub did not answer. He just kept walking, his claws clicking on the floor. Yuna watched this and felt a small worry in her chest. Maybe Taiho was right. Maybe this was a mistake. Maybe Minji could not handle these creatures. But then she remembered Minji's face when they had discussed the job. The young woman had not looked scared. She had not looked worried. She had just nodded and said, "I have dealt with worse. My youngest brother bit me so many times I have scars." Yuna smiled to herself. Yes, she thought. This would be interesting. They reached the daycare door. Yuna pressed the button to open it. "Minji," she called. "Your new students are here." A young woman appeared in the doorway. She was short, with long black hair tied back in a ponytail. She wore simple clothes, comfortable for working with children. Her face was round and friendly, but her eyes were sharp. She looked at the 3 Varax cubs. They looked back at her. Rosk bared his fangs. Minji did not move. She did not blink. She just looked at him the way a mother looks at a child who is being foolish. "Come in," she said. "We have a lot to do today." And for the first time in his young life, Rosk felt something strange. He felt like maybe, just maybe, he was not the most dangerous thing in the room. The daycare room was bright and colorful. The walls were painted with pictures of animals and trees and smiling suns. Soft mats covered the floor in red, blue, and yellow. Shelves held toys and books and art supplies. Everything looked safe and happy. The Varax cubs stood in the middle of the room and looked around with confusion. They had never seen a place like this. On their home world, rooms were dark and cold. Walls were made of stone or metal. There were no bright colors. There were no toys. There was only training and fighting and survival. Warden Grawl stood near the door with Ambassador Yuna. A young man named Dawn stood with them behind a window made of special glass. The glass was very strong. It could stop a bullet. Grawl had asked for this protection. He knew what his cubs could do. "This is the observation room," Yuna explained. "We can watch and listen to everything that happens. If there is any danger, security can be here in seconds." Grawl nodded, but his eyes stayed on his children. "The room is very soft," he said. "Very gentle. Our nurseries are not like this. What are your nurseries like?" Doan asked. He was trying to sound calm, but his voice shook a little. He was scared of the Varaks. "Stone floors," Grawl said. "No decorations. We believe that comfort makes children weak. They must learn to be strong from the first day." Yuna said nothing. She just watched through the window inside the daycare. Minji stood in front of the three cubs. She was much smaller than them. Rosk could have broken her with one arm. Ven could have bitten through her neck. Even little Kira was bigger than her. But Minji did not act small. She acted like she was the biggest thing in the room. "Okay," she said. Her voice was firm but not mean. "My name is Minji. I'm going to take care of you while you are on this station. We are going to do activities together. We are going to learn things. We are going to have fun." Rosk made a sound in his throat. It was a challenge sound, a sound that Varak's cubs made when they wanted to fight for dominance. Minji looked at him. "Do you have something to say?" Rosk stood taller. On his home world, this would make other cubs back down. He was the biggest. He was the strongest. He was the leader. "We do not need a weak creature to take care of us," he said. His voice was young but already rough like his father's. "We are hunters. We are warriors. You are nothing." Behind the window, Doan made a worried sound. "Should we stop this?" "Wait," Yuna said. Minji walked toward Rosk. She stopped right in front of him, so close that he could have grabbed her easily. She had to look up to see his face. "Let me tell you something," she said. Her voice was quiet but strong. "I do not care how big you are. I do not care how sharp your claws are. In this room, I am in charge. If you listen to me, we will get along fine. If you do not listen to me, you will sit in the corner until you are ready to behave. Do you understand?" Rask stared at her. Nobody had ever talked to him like this. Not even his father. On Varak Prime, speaking to a cub this way would start a fight. The cub would attack. The adult would have to prove their strength, but Minji was not attacking. She was not preparing to fight. She was just standing there, looking at him with those calm, steady eyes. Rosk did not know what to do behind him. Ven was watching with interest. Little Kira had moved behind her brothers, peeking out at the strange human woman. "Well?" Minji said. "I asked you a question. Do you understand?" Something in Rosk broke. Not in a bad way. It was like a door opening. He had never met anyone who was not afraid of him. He had never met anyone who made rules and expected him to follow them. It was strange. It was confusing, it was interesting. "I understand," he said slowly. "Good," Minji nodded. "Now sit down. All three of you. We are going to do crafts." She pointed at the colorful mats on the floor. The cubs looked at each other. Then, one by one, they sat down. Rosk first, then Ven, then Kira. Behind the window, Warden Grawl made a choking sound. "What is wrong?" Yuna asked. "They sat," Grawl said. His voice was full of shock. "They just sat. When she told them to sit, they sat." "Yes," Yuna said. "That is what children do." "No," Grawl shook his head. "Not Varak's cubs. Varak's cubs do not sit. They do not follow orders. They fight. They challenge. He stopped talking. He did not have words for what he was seeing. Inside the room, Minji was handing out supplies. She gave each cub a piece of thick paper. She gave them safety scissors with rounded edges. She gave them bottles of glue and small containers of glitter. "We are going to make pictures," she said. "You can make anything you want. An animal, a place you like, a person you love. Use your imagination." Ven looked at the scissors in his paw. They were so small compared to his claws. "What are these for?" "For cutting," Minji said. She showed him how to hold the scissors and how to cut the paper. "Like this, see? You can make shapes." Ven tried. The scissors were difficult to use with his big paws, but he managed to cut a crooked circle. He looked at it with surprise. "I made a shape," he said. "I made something." "Good job," Minji said. She moved to help Kira, who was having trouble with the glue. Rask watched all of this with narrow eyes. He picked up a piece of paper and tore it with his claws. Then he used the pieces to build something. It looked like a weapon, maybe a knife. Old habits were hard to break, but he was quiet. He was calm. He was not fighting. Grawl could not believe what he was seeing. "How is she doing this?" he asked. "My cubs have fought trained warriors. They have injured guards. They have drawn blood from me, their own father. But this small woman tells them to sit, and they sit. She gives them paper and glue, and they make art. How?" Yuna smiled. "She is not trying to fight them," she said. "She is not trying to prove that she is stronger. She is just certain. She knows she is in charge. She does not doubt it. And children can feel that. Even your children. But the danger. She knows the danger," Yuna said. "She is not stupid, but she does not show fear because fear would make things worse. If she acted scared, your cubs would see her as prey. So she acts like a leader instead." Grawl was silent for a long time. He watched as Minji helped Kira glue glitter onto her paper. The little female cub was making something that looked like stars. Her eyes were bright with interest. "We have tried everything," Grawl said quietly. "We have tried strict training. We have tried punishment. We have tried isolation. Nothing works. Our cubs stay wild. Many of them die young because they fight too much. We thought it was just our nature. We thought there was no other way. Maybe there is another way," Yuna said. "Maybe you just needed to see it." At that moment, Minji walked out of the main room. She came into the observation area, leaving the cubs alone for a moment. "I need to get snacks from the kitchen," she said. "They've been good. They deserve a reward." "Are you sure it is safe to leave them alone?" Doan asked. Minji shrugged. "They are busy with their crafts. They will be fine for 2 minutes." She walked out. Behind the window, the 3 cubs looked at each other. Rask was still working on his paper weapon. Ven was cutting more shapes. Kira was covered in glitter. Then Rask noticed something on the table. It was a roll of silver tape. Minji had left it there with the other supplies. He picked it up. He had never seen anything like it. And in that moment, everything was about to change. Rask turned the strange silver roll in his paws. It was not like anything on Vorik Prime. It was light and smooth, and when he pressed his claw against it, the surface was slightly sticky. "What is this thing?" he asked out loud. Ven looked up from his paper cutting. "I do not know. Some kind of human tool?" Rask pulled at the edge of the silver material. A piece of it came loose, stretching out like a thin tongue. It made a strange ripping sound that surprised him. He pulled more. More came out. Behind the observation window, Warden Grail leaned forward. "What is he doing?" "He found the duct tape," Dahon said. "Oh no, what is duct tape?" Grawl asked. "It is." Dohan thought about how to explain. "It is a very sticky tape. Humans use it to fix things. to hold things together, well, to do almost anything, really. Is it dangerous? Dahan almost laughed. No, not dangerous. But it is very, very sticky. Inside the room, Rosk was still pulling the tape. He had created a long silver strip now. He touched it with his other paw to feel the stickiness. The tape stuck to his paw. He tried to pull his paw away. The tape came with it. He shook his arm, but the tape held on. Get off, Rosk growled. He shook harder. The tape just stretched and wrapped around his wrist. Ven started to laugh. It was not a sound that Varak's cubs made very often. On their home world, laughing was seen as weakness. But Ven could not help it. His brother, the biggest and strongest of them, was fighting a piece of sticky paper and losing. It is not funny, Rosk snapped. He tried to use his other paw to remove the tape. Now both paws were stuck. Ven laughed harder. You look so stupid. Shut up. Rosk lunged at his brother, forgetting about the tape. The roll flew through the air, trailing silver strips. Ven tried to dodge, but Rosk crashed into him. They rolled across the floor together. The tape tangled around them both. Little Kira watched with wide eyes. Her brothers were wrapped together now, their arms stuck to each other, silver tape covering their fur. They were growling and biting, but every time they moved, they made things worse. Stop moving, Ven yelled. You are making it tighter. You stop moving. Rosk yelled back. This is your fault. My fault? You are the one who touched it. They rolled again. More tape unrolled from the spinning roll, wrapping around their legs. Kira looked at the chaos. Then she looked at the roll of tape that was bouncing across the floor. A strange feeling rose up inside her. She had seen her brothers fight many times. Usually she stayed away. Usually she was scared of them. But right now, they were helpless. They were stuck, and they could not stop her from doing anything. For the first time in her life, Kira felt powerful. She pounced, not on her brothers, but on the roll of tape. She caught it in her small paws and looked at it with curiosity. Then, very carefully, she pulled out a long strip. She walked over to her brothers, who were still fighting on the ground. Kira, help us, Ven shouted. Instead, Kira stuck the tape across both of their mouths. The room went silent. Behind the window, Grawl made a sound like he was choking on his own breath. Ambassador Yuna covered her mouth with her hand, hiding a smile. Dahan just stared, his eyes as big as plates. Did she just... Grawl started. Yes, Yuna said. She did. Kira stepped back and looked at her work. Her brothers were completely wrapped in silver tape. They could not move their arms or legs. They could not speak because of the tape on their mouths. They could only make angry humming sounds and stare at her with furious eyes. For a moment, Kira felt scared. What had she done? When her brothers got free, they would hurt her. They would. Then she heard a sound. It was coming from her own throat. She was laughing. It started small, just a soft rumbling. Then it grew bigger. Kira laughed and laughed until tears came from her eyes. She fell onto her back and kicked her feet in the air, still laughing. Rosk and Ven stopped struggling. They had never heard their sister laugh like this. On Vorak Prime, Kira was always quiet, always scared, always hiding behind them. She never made noise. She never drew attention to herself. But now she was rolling on the floor, laughing so hard she could barely breathe. Something about it was funny. Even Rosk could not deny it. Here he was, the strongest cub in their family, defeated by a sticky piece of paper and his baby sister. It was ridiculous. It was embarrassing. It was the funniest thing that had ever happened to him. A sound came from behind the tape on his mouth. It was muffled, but it was clear. Rosk was laughing too. Ven joined in. All three cubs were laughing now, tangled together on the colorful floor, covered in silver tape. Behind the window, Graal was very still. His amber eyes were wet. "Warden Graal?" Una asked softly. "Are you all right?" "I have never." Graal's voice broke. He stopped, breathed, and tried again. "I have never heard my children laugh together. Never. They fight. They compete. They hurt each other. But they do not laugh. Not like this." Una put a hand on his arm. It was a human gesture of comfort. Graal did not push her away. "What is happening to them?" he asked. "They are playing," Una said. "That is all. They are just playing. But it was an accident. They were fighting. They got stuck. Yes, and then they realized it was funny. They realized they could not hurt each other. For the first time, maybe, they were helpless together. And instead of being angry about it, they laughed." Graal watched his children. Kira had crawled over to her brothers and was trying to pull the tape off them. But every time she touched the tape, it stuck to her too. Soon she was tangled with them, all three cubs wrapped up in one big silver ball. They kept laughing. "On our world," Graal said slowly, "we teach our young that the universe is dangerous. We teach them to be hard, to be cold, to never show weakness. We believe this makes them strong." "I understand," Una said. "But look at them." Graal's voice was thick with emotion. "Look at how happy they are. They are not being strong right now. They are being weak. They are being foolish. And yet, I have never seen them so much like children," Una finished. "Yes," Graal wiped his eyes. "Yes, exactly." The door to the observation room opened. Minji walked in carrying a tray of juice boxes and snacks. She looked through the window at the chaos inside. 3 Varax cubs wrapped in tape, laughing on the floor. Minji sighed. It was not an angry sigh. It was the sigh of someone who had seen this kind of thing many times before. "Really?" she said. "I was gone for 2 minutes." She set down the tray and walked back into the daycare room. The cubs looked up at her with their glowing eyes. Tape covered almost every part of their bodies. "Okay," Minji said. "Who started this?" Kira pointed at Rosk with a taped paw. Rosk made an angry noise behind his mouth tape and pointed back at Kira. "I see," Minji said. She knelt down beside them. "Hold still. I am going to get you out. But if you move, it will take longer. Understand?" The cubs nodded. They held very, very still. And behind the window, Warden Graal watched as this small human woman began to carefully free his children from their silver prison. He did not understand how she did it, but he was starting to believe that maybe, just maybe, humans knew something that Varax had forgotten. The predator cubs discovered a roll of tape. Part 4. Minji worked slowly and carefully. She peeled the tape from Kira first, because the little female was the most tangled. Kira sat perfectly still, her amber eyes following every movement of Minji's hands. "This might pull your fur a little," Minji warned. "Tell me if it hurts," Kira nodded. Minji peeled away a long strip of tape from her arm. Some fur came with it. Kira winced but did not cry out. On her home world, showing pain was forbidden. Cubs were supposed to be silent when they hurt. But something was different here. Minji was looking at her with soft eyes, eyes that seemed to care about her comfort. "Good job," Minji said gently. "You are being very brave." Something warm spread through Kira's chest. She did not understand the feeling. Nobody had ever told her she was brave before. Her brother said she was weak. Her father said she needed to be tougher. But this human woman said she was brave. Kira liked it. "Stay still just a little longer," Minji said. She removed the last piece of tape from Kira's face. There, all done. Kira looked at her clean paws. Some sticky residue remained, but she was free. She should run away now. She should go back to watching from a distance, like she always did. Instead, she stayed close to Minji. Behind the observation window, Warden Grawl noticed this. His youngest daughter, the one who trusted no one, was staying near the human woman. She was not afraid. She was not running. That is strange, he said quietly. What is strange? Yuna asked. Kira, she never stays close to anyone. She is always alone, always watching from far away. The doctors say she has problems with connection. She does not trust people. She does not let anyone near her. But she is near Minji now. Grawl nodded slowly. Yes, she is. Inside the room, Minji was working on Rask. He was harder to untangle because he was bigger and had more tape around him. She had to use small scissors to cut some of the tape away from his fur. Next time, Minji said as she worked, maybe do not play with things you do not understand. Rask growled a little. It was not an angry growl. It was more like embarrassment. It was an accident. I know. Minji cut away another strip, but that is how accidents happen. You touch something. You do not know what it does, and suddenly you are wrapped up like a gift package. A what? Never mind. Minji finished with his arms and moved to his legs. You know, on Earth, children get into trouble like this all the time. They find things. They play with things. They make messes. It is normal. Rask was quiet for a moment. Virak's cubs do not play, he said. We train. We fight. We learn to hunt. That sounds tiring. It is necessary. Our world is dangerous. Minji looked at him with those calm eyes. But you are not on your world right now. You are here. And here, cubs can play. Rask did not know what to say. He had never thought about it that way. His whole life, he had been told that playing was weak. That fun was for prey. That hunters did not laugh or make art or get tangled in tape. But today, he had done all of those things. And it had felt good. There, Minji said, removing the last piece of tape from his mouth. You are free. Rask stood up and shook his body. Bits of tape residue still stuck to his fur. He looked at Ven, who was still waiting for help. Then he looked at Minji. He did something he had never done before. Thank you, he said. The words felt strange in his mouth. Varaks did not thank people. Thanking someone meant you owed them something. It meant you were weaker than them. It was shameful, but it did not feel shameful right now. It felt right. Minji smiled at him. You are welcome. Now sit over there while I help your brother. Rask sat. He did not argue. He did not challenge. He just sat, like she told him to, and watched. Ven was the last one. He was quieter than his siblings, but his eyes were always watching, always thinking. As Minji peeled tape from his fur, he asked questions. How do you make this tape? Humans make it in factories. Special machines. What is it made of? Plastic and cloth and glue, I think. I am not exactly sure. It is very clever. Ven looked at the tape with interest. A material that sticks to everything. It could be useful for many things. Humans use it for everything, Minji agreed. Fixing broken things, holding things together, making crafts. Some people even use it to make clothes or bags. Really? Ven's ears perked up. That is interesting. I would like to learn more about human inventions. Maybe I can show you some tomorrow, Minji said. We have many interesting things. She finished freeing Ven and stood up. All three cubs were now free of the tape. They sat on the colorful mats, covered in sticky residue and loose fur, but otherwise unharmed. Now, Minji said, I brought snacks. Who is hungry? She picked up the tray of juice boxes and crackers. The cubs looked at the food with confusion. They had never seen anything like it. "What is this?" Kira asked, pointing at a juice box. "It is juice. Apple juice. Sweet and good for you." Minji showed them how to poke the straw through the top. "You drink through this little tube. Like this." She demonstrated with her own juice box. The cubs watched carefully. Kira tried first. She poked the straw into the box, put it to her mouth, and sucked. Her eyes went wide. "It is sweet," she said. "Very sweet. I like it." Rosk and Ven tried their juice boxes next. They both made the same surprised face when they tasted the sweetness. On Varak Prime, food was meat and more meat. Sometimes vegetables that tasted like dirt. Nothing was ever sweet. Nothing was ever gentle on the tongue. "This is good," Rosk admitted. "Very strange, but good." The three cubs sat in a circle, drinking juice boxes and eating crackers. They were still covered in tape residue. Their fur was messy. They looked ridiculous, but they were calm. They were quiet. They were happy. Behind the window, Warden Grohl watched with tears in his eyes. "How long have they been here?" he asked Yuna. "About 2 hours. 2 hours." Grohl shook his head. "In 2 hours, this woman has taught my children more about peace than I have taught them in their entire lives." "She has not taught them anything yet," Yuna said. "She has just shown them something different. A different way to be. A different way to live. But how? She is so small. She has no weapons. She has no power. That is not true." Yuna looked at Minji through the window. "She has a great power. She has patience. She has kindness. She has confidence. And she has something else that your children have never seen before." "What is that?" "She expects the best from them." Yuna smiled. "When you expect children to be wild, they become wild. When you expect them to be killers, they become killers. But when you expect them to be good, when you believe they can be gentle and kind and creative, sometimes they become that instead." Grohl was silent for a long time. He watched as Kira crawled closer to Minji and leaned against her leg. Minji did not push her away. She just reached down and gently touched the cub's head. Kira made a sound. It was a soft rumble, deep in her throat. Grohl gasped. "What is it?" Yuna asked. "That sound?" Graal's voice was barely a whisper. "It is. We call it the trust song. Varaks make it when they feel completely safe, when they trust someone with their life. Kira has never made that sound. Not with her mother. Not with her brothers. Not with me. She is making it now." "Yes." A tear fell down Graal's furry cheek. "She is making it for a human." Inside the room, Minji looked down at the little alien cub leaning against her. She did not know what the rumbling sound meant, but she could feel that it was something important. She kept petting Kira's head gently. "You are okay," she whispered. "You are safe here. You can rest." Kira closed her eyes. For the first time since coming to the station, she did not feel like she had to watch for danger. She did not feel like she had to be afraid. She felt like a child. Just a child, drinking juice and resting against someone who cared about her. And in that moment, something changed in the universe. Something small but important. A bridge was built between two species that had been enemies. It was not built with weapons or treaties or politics. It was built with apple juice, duct tape, and a young woman who refused to be afraid. The Predator Cubs discovered a roll of tape, Part 5. 3 months passed on Harmony Station. The war between humans and Varaks grew more distant every day. People stopped looking at each other with fear. They started looking with curiosity instead. And at the center of this change were 3 small cubs and 1 young human woman. Minji's daycare became famous. Other Varaks families sent their children to learn from her. Soon she had a whole class of alien cubs sitting on colorful mats, making art and drinking juice boxes. She hired more helpers. A young woman named Sujin joined her, and then a man named Junho. and then 3 more after that. The cubs learned many things. They learned to use scissors and glue. They learned to share toys. They learned to say please and thank you. They learned that fighting was not the only way to solve problems, but more than anything, they learned to play. Warden Grawl visited every week. At first, he came to check on his children, to make sure they were safe, to make sure this human experiment was not hurting them. But over time, his visits changed. He came to watch, to learn, to understand. He saw things that amazed him. He saw Rosk, his wild and angry son, helping a smaller cub learn to paint. He saw Ven, his quiet and strange son, reading human books about science and asking questions about how things worked. He saw Kira, his scared and lonely daughter, running and laughing with other children like she had never done before. "They are different now," he told Ambassador Yuna one day. "They are not the same cubs I brought here." "They are still the same cubs," Yuna said. "They've just learned new ways to be themselves." Grawl thought about this for a long time. Then he nodded. "Yes, I think you are right." On the last day of the 3rd month, Grawl had to make his report to the Varax High Council. The council was made of the oldest and strongest Varax, the leaders of their species. They would decide if the human experiment was a success or a failure. Grawl sat in his quarters on the station and wrote his report. He wrote for many hours. He deleted and rewrote many times. Finally, when the station's lights dimmed for the night cycle, he finished. His report said this: "To the High Council of Varak Prime, I write this with great respect and greater hope. For 3 months, I have watched my children live among humans. I have seen things that I did not believe were possible. I have seen my cubs change in ways that I never expected. When we arrived, my children were wild. They fought each other. They trusted no one. They knew only anger and fear and hunger. This is normal for Vorax cubs. We have always believed this was our nature. We believed we could not be anything else, thought we were wrong. Humans have a different way of raising their young. They do not teach strength through pain. They do not teach survival through fear. They teach with patience. They teach with kindness. They teach with something they call play down at first. I thought play was foolish, a waste of time, something for weak species. But I have learned that play is not weakness. Play is how children learn to trust. Play is how they learn to work together. Play is how they discover who they are. My daughter Kira was born silent and scared. She never spoke unless forced. She never touched anyone. Our doctors said she would never connect with others. But after 3 months with a human caretaker named Minji, Kira laughs and talks and runs with other children. She made the trust song for the first time in her life. She's happy that my son Ven was born strange. He asked too many questions. He did not like fighting. The other cubs called him weak. But here, his questions are welcomed. He has learned about human science and human art and human music. He has found a place where being different is not shameful. My son Rosk was born angry. He was always fighting, always trying to prove he was the strongest. I thought he would become a great warrior. But Minji has taught him that there are other ways to be strong. He can be strong by helping others. He can be strong by being kind. He has become a leader, not through fear, but through example. I do not fully understand how this happened. Humans are small. They are soft. They have no claws or fangs. And yet, they have a power we do not have. The power to change hearts. I must also mention a strange human object called duct tape. It is a sticky strip that humans use to fix things. On my first day here, my cubs found a roll of this tape and got themselves completely tangled in it. They could not move. They could not fight. They were helpless, and they laughed. I had never heard my children laugh together before that day. The tape trapped them, but it also freed them. For the first time, They were not fighting each other. They were stuck together, and they had to accept it. And when they accepted it, they discovered something wonderful. They discovered each other. I recommend that we do not go to war with humanity, not because they are strong, not because we are afraid, but because they have something we need. They have knowledge. They have wisdom. They know how to raise children who are happy, not just children who survive. I am requesting 500 rolls of duct tape for our nurseries on Vorak Prime. Our children need to learn what my children learned. They need to get stuck sometimes. They need to struggle and fail and laugh. They need to be weak so that they can become strong in different ways. Please consider my words carefully. The future of our species may depend on them. With respect and hope, Warden Growl. Growl sent the report and closed his eyes. He did not know what the council would decide. They might reject his ideas. They might call him weak or foolish or corrupted by humans. But he did not care. He had seen his children laugh. He had seen them play. He had seen them become the cubs they were always meant to be. No council could take that away. The next morning, Growl went to the daycare for the last time. His cubs were going back to Vorak Prime with him. It was time to say goodbye. Minji was waiting at the door. She looked tired, as always, but her eyes were warm. "They are ready," she said. They packed their bags themselves. They even made goodbye cards for their friends. Growl looked past her into the room. His 3 cubs stood in a group, holding small bags and pieces of folded paper. They looked different now. Not physically, but in the way they held themselves. They stood straight but relaxed. Their eyes were alert but calm. They were not watching for threats. They were watching for friends. "Thank you," Growl said to Minji. "I do not have words to express what you have done for my family." Minji shrugged. "I just treated them like children. All children are the same, really. They want to be loved. They want to be safe. They want someone to believe in them. You make it sound so simple. It is simple." Minji smiled. "The hard part is doing it every day, even when you are tired, even when they are difficult. That is the job." Growl bowed his head. It was a sign of deep respect among Voraks. "If you ever need anything, call for me. I owe you a debt that I cannot repay." The cubs came forward. Kira immediately wrapped herself around Minji's leg. She had grown bigger in 3 months, but she still liked to stay close to her favorite human. "Do we have to go?" Kira asked. "I want to stay here forever." "You can come back and visit," Minji said. She knelt down to look Kira in the eyes. "And I will always be here. Remember that. No matter how far away you are, you have a friend on this station." Kira's eyes filled with tears. She made the trust song loud and strong, and then she hugged Minji tightly. Rask stepped forward next. He was trying to look tough, but his eyes were soft. "I will remember what you taught me," he said. "That strength is not just about fighting." "Good." Minji ruffled his fur. "Take care of your brother and sister." "I will." Ven was last. He handed Minji a piece of paper. "I made this for you. It is a drawing of the duct tape. So you remember the day we met." Minji looked at the drawing. It was actually quite good. It showed 3 cubs wrapped in tape, laughing on the floor. "I will treasure this forever," she said. The cubs left with their father. They walked to the shuttle that would take them home. At the door, they turned back one last time and waved. Minji waved back. Then they were gone. Sujin came to stand beside Minji. "Are you okay?" "Yes." Minji wiped her eyes. "I am just proud of them. They worked so hard. They were lucky to have you." "No." Minji shook her head. "We were all lucky. Humans and Voraks. We learned from each other. That is how it should be." They walked back into the daycare. A new batch of Voraks cubs was waiting, their eyes wide and nervous. This was their first day. Minji looked at them and smiled. "Okay," she said. My name is Minji. I am going to take care of you while you are here. We are going to do activities together. We are going to learn things. We are going to have fun." One cub growled at her. Minji raised an eyebrow. "We are going to work on that too." She walked into the room and closed the door behind her. And somewhere in the galaxy, 3 Virax cubs flew toward home, carrying rolls of duct tape in their bags and memories of laughter in their hearts. Humanity had given them a gift. Not weapons, not technology, not power. Just patience, just kindness, just play. And that was the most dangerous thing of all, because now the Virax would never be the same.